Hello, hello. This is Dante of the Dante Maddox channel, and I'm about to do my first like live viewing thing. You know, where you watch me watch something. I'm gonna watch the IGN's 22 minutes of gameplay with BioWare. I have been doing a bunch of live streaming in preparation for the countdown to Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and I think I'm just gonna tuck this bad boy in there with the playlist. So, without further ado, we're gonna switch over and watch the video. I might pause if I'm, like can't keep up my own commentary, but we're gonna check out this video. I checked it out once. We're gonna check it out again. I'm gonna try and stay on topic. I apologize in advance. Let's do it. Hello, hello, hello. So here we go. Let's watch. Now, I hopefully have turned her down. I am okay. So hopefully that turned them down for me because I am like trying to compete with them. But they're showing off 22 minutes of gameplay, and what they're saying is this is fairly late in the game. Now, this area here is a bit of a spoiler, like a little background. I absolutely adore this series. Dragon Age got me playing with Knights of the Old Republic, and I have been hooked ever since. But at the end of it all, Dragon Age has always been the one that got me. So when I heard they were bringing Dragon Age back, I I bought a computer and a console to make sure all my bases were covered. And when it comes to YouTube, like I'm not a YouTuber. I'm going to link to some of my favorite YouTubers who talk about Dragon Age. But I treat YouTube like ham radio, like I'm a hobbyist basically. Okay, so a few bits of pieces of things. The character on the left here is going to be our main character called Rook, and this is one of our party members. If you're familiar with Dragon Age: The Inquisition, we are basically where the Trespasser takes place in the Fade. We took over Solus's situation where he was hiding out at the end of the game and all this time. Um, that's a spoiler for me, but they told us it's an official video. Um, as I'm looking so far, everything looks really great. I love the general aesthetic. I love the characters' like facial expressions and their body language. I always felt like Dragon Age, the characters, as good as it all looked, always felt a little weightless. Like the rigging, just they didn't have a center of gravity. But like a lot of games kind of stumble there, and so it was no big deal. Like you could always see it in cutscenes when a player or a character has to turn and then walk someplace. They kind of spin around a little bit. There's no sway, and I just think that that's we'll get there. Um, the devs here are playing, and while all this stuff is cool, I think visually it's really interesting. It kind of gives you some hints as to what you can do with character creation. I like the fact that the hair for the Canary character goes down to his shoulders. I see a little bit of clipping, but it is what it is. I'm curious if you can manually adjust the length of hair. So like I'm weirdly what's the word? A schlub. Like I don't dress well, you know. And I say weirdly because when it comes to like video games and stuff, I'm a clothes horse, but I don't dress well. I'm a Walmart like shopper. So like the fall line of Walmart and secondhand stores from the 90s is my is my wardrobe. But in games, I like to do all the fashion stuff, which is so weird. So Dragon Age, compared to some other games, kind of always, let me down a little bit in terms of that. And from what I'm hearing, like they're gonna make some big changes in terms of like how varied your costuming can be. And I've heard a lot of people talk about they didn't like hair. I hear about a lot of stuff secondhand because, like I said, I'm not. Well, say okay. I feel like you don't measure love. You can't measure love. I love Dragon Age, but if you're gonna have like a contest of fandom, I would lose like real fast, like in the first round. Like I'm not like I can't be like I just I'm reading some of the comics and stuff like that. I watch YouTube videos about the stuff that takes place outside the games because I find it all fascinating, but I'm not a big enough fan to like on my day off go out looking for it. I saw the Netflix series, like you know what I mean? Like it's catching me on my couch still. Like I'm not gonna lie to you. This all looks incredible. I feel like it's a little spoilery for me, and I don't want to speculate too much because, as much as I do like watching spoiler speculation kind of theory stuff, like oftentimes, like they're wrong, and so it's still worth But like how I feel about like this, what I'm looking at, it's like it's perfect. And and also I watched this video once before, actually I think twice. And what they're explaining is what Solus explained in the second game, and what I think also was explained in not the second game, I'm sorry, in Inquisition. What was explained in Dragon Age 2 as well, potentially, is basically the Fade reflects a physical location to some degree. Now, I think based on how they're explaining this sort of center point nexus, they're going to play with that rule a little bit because the changing of the fade is supposed to be one to one geographical. Solus says at one point that you have to literally go to new places in the physical world to go to new places in the fade. So in these okay, and I'm gonna, I might have to rewind this because they're talking about the combat, and the combat I think is worth like discussing. But essentially, I think they're gonna play fast and loose with the Citadel. Okay, so the character they built is a Kunari mage, which is awesome because there's a huge like story to Kunari magic users that I really hope the game deals with, especially if you choose it. I am gonna pause this for a quick second. Okay, like I love Dragon Age above like any other BioWare game because I feel like the world building is just like far and away above what any other of their other games do. And one of those games goes out into a whole ass universe or two. And I still think that more tender love and care is given to the complexity of Thetis than the other equally awesome, for me, beloved BioWare game, which I think is the future. Literally, like they take place in the same universe. Like so, it's the same deep richness automatically, But like with the Kunari and Magic, what one of the things that like a video game can't quite take care of, whereas when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is what Dragon Age is based off of, that you can do. In Dungeons and Dragons, I can decide that my Kunari character has this crucible or this issue or something that they need to deal with, that they need to overcome. And with my dungeon master, we can come up with a storyline. It'll be epic and awesome. And the video game counterpart to this point has still not caught up with that level of um, my game, how I'm gonna play it, And so Origins really, really stepped up with, okay, the sky's not the limit, but we threw some shots up there for you to pick and choose from, please enjoy. And a lot of people did. And I think one of the most amazing things about Dragon Age is, for as good a game as Inquisition is, it still has to compete with this game that kind of looks like, never mind. But it's just Dragon Age is a wonderful situation. So I think I'm really hoping that in the Veilguard, you might get that sense that as a Canary, when people talk to you and you're a mage, it's different than when you're a Canary and you're a rogue. And I mean, it's really different. I'm waiting to see, because like I think that is one of those benchmarks that all role playing games are starting to like hit, where it's like they can really make it happen. Like I gotta play Baldur's Gate 3 because I keep hearing how good the stories are. But that game costs as much as it costs like for some of my stuff, like a month. Like I can't justify it. I'm sorry. Okay, before I get it going again, they're doing the combat, and just real quick, Canary Mage, Rogue on the right is Scout Harding. On the left is another mage, and I think she is. It's okay. Later on, they're going to show some cool stuff about switching up your abilities on the fly. So we're going to have to figure out how exactly that's implemented. We got to watch. So here we go. Let's go. Okay. Okay. One thing that makes me a little nervous about the pause system is that in Inquisition, I felt like the camera was just oddly unwieldy when you were paused. It's like, why does the camera feel like this if I've paused the action? What am I tethered to? Why can't I just get the camera to just move around the action? And I'm worried that they're gonna really go Mass Effect 2, and when you pause, you're also fixed on your perspective, and maybe you can turn the camera, maybe you can look around, but I'm kind of wondering if that is going to be a point of frustration once you get into the game, because I mean, I'm not gonna care. I used to be like a situation where I wouldn't buy like the next album of my favorite artist for a long time because I feared change that much. But like I've gotten way better. So like I I had zero trepidation and was fully on board the moment they were gonna do it. And way back when they were talking about live service, I just like felt like, okay, I'll just die with it. Like if they make this live service game and it's the worst thing ever, I will just hop on, strap myself in, pretend like everything is fine, and till the wheels fall off. If that's what they decide to do, like I'm in. You got me. Like the MCU, you know. So when they said that the difficulty levels and the way that you're going to be able to adjust everything was going to be set in the way it was, I completely checked out of whether or not I was going to really enjoy the game's combat, because I felt like worst case scenario, if the combat isn't fun or is too difficult, I'll just put it on super easy and just get the story out and play it the number of times it takes to get all the playthroughs and get all the stories, and then I don't know, see what happens after like DLC and stuff. If that, but it looks like the combat is going to be, I don't know, I don't want to like jinx it, but the combat looks like exactly what I always wanted it to be. I don't. You probably aren't. I'm talking to a potential audience, so you probably don't watch my Dragon Age Inquisition live stream, but I play as a rogue, and I have so many rogue builds. But the most frustrating thing is you can't switch between ranged and melee mid combat, and it looks like they've addressed that, and it looks like maybe maybe they've addressed equipping your character. This is all spoiler stuff, and also I'm like kind of watching the video, and I feel like there's no point in like literally watching it. Like I'm commentating. I'm sorry, I got no skin in this game, but I'm commentating. But in the very first game, even if it wasn't strategically advantageous, you could take a mage and put them and equip them with a sword and let them run around taking penalties to their abilities because they were ill equipped, like Dungeons and Dragons. We've I've been a new player in to learn the game and like, well, can I do this, that, and the third? And they're like, well, yeah, you can, but you pay all these penalties for doing it. And it's like, well, I don't care. I just what I want to do. And you play that way, and then you find out through play why you don't want to suffer those disadvantages. But the technical thing about Dungeons and Dragons is you can play. And so in Origins, in the original game, there was a little bit more of that freedom where I could I'm pretty sure. I feel like maybe not, but I feel like in Dragon Age Origins, I can unequip my shield and just have a sword and then suffer the penalty, maybe. Or I think in Dragon Age Origins, I could run around with two swords as a warrior. And there are other things too, like carrying a crossbow, and like other. It's like the playbook in terms of how you could equip and set your character up was wide open. However, you couldn't like really whoop ass like that, But you could put the game on super easy where it didn't really matter, and live out your own personal fantasy, which I think that is what the Veilguard is going to recapture because okay, a little bit of background. Way back when now, because the years go on, I used to write about video games like actually for a living. Like I used to have skin in the game. I don't no more, and I'm well past my prime. Like I'm not even like my LinkedIn does not talk about this anymore. But I'm like I said, like it's still fun. It's still like I still love Dragon Age, and so I can talk about it like that for a little bit. Um, but in that original game, oh wow, I lost my train of thought. Give me a second, because I can hear those guys in my ear, and I'm not really competing, but still. Okay, they're explaining the combat, and earlier I love the fact that they were able to switch their combat style in the middle of combat. So if you watch the original video, they'll explain it perfectly. But basically, what they did here was switched prestige classes essentially, which is mind blowing because in Dragon Age Inquisition, getting your prestige classes is a whole mission, and it's you pick one, and that's the one you are. You can either, if you're a rogue, you can be an artificer, an assassin, and then the other one's like a tempest. And like each one of your characters is a representation of a prestige class, and I think that still is represented here. But it looks like you can go full jack of all trades and create and get every class filled out and then switch those class builds on the fly, which is nuts because what he did was, and there's a dude playing who's a dev, and I think like one of the games like creators, she's explaining what everyone's seeing, and then there's someone from IGN like, oh yeah, I used to okay, never mind. I used to write for a company that's not IGN, but there's a connection between the company I used to work for and IGN, an old friend of mine, which is awesome. But I got sidetracked because I started to reminisce. But anyway, they're describing like okay, so one thing they did was your character in this game, the mage, can use like an orb similar to the, I guess, in some way, you'll see it on the screen. It's similar in some way to the orb from or like the concept of a magical orb that is the foci for power is really big in Inquisition. And then with that orb, you can have like it looks like a dagger or sword. And so that is, he said that if you're a big fan of the Knight Enchanter, and I am, then that's the build for you. And that is not the build he was using when he started. When he first started the combat, he was using what looked like a Rift Mage build. And how he described it's like a life drain, leech power. So he can basically refill his health, taking life from you. I loved the fact that that's the one they chose to show the audience because that's one of those builds that, like, on paper seems like overpowered, and so either you use it and it's not overpowered and you're like, this sucks, and you don't really like give it a chance and find out that it's not overpowered, but damn, you know. And so he earlier he died once, but like he got up and he showed you a function of what happens and how they deal with falling, which, okay, look, I'm a little disappointed that they still, well, we'll have to do another video and maybe talk about like I'll do a more of an edited video. This is still the word isn't watch along. You children don't call this a watch along. I don't. I think it's because I'm not watching with a group of people. I'm watching with the theoretical audience. I think it's called a something, and I'm gonna have to figure out what it is for the notes or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna do a video of like maybe a more edited video of the things and takeaways, concerns, because I have none. But there are still things I'm looking at like, ooh, because I really want this game to like be successful. I want this game to blow up. Okay, so these are two of your companions. A couple things that stand out is there's a cape. Always think capes are cool, so I'm interested in having a cape. Um, I am interested in seeing all the various weapons that I can equip, and I'm wondering because okay, I think I lost. I got to write copy. You know, when I do more like I hate writing copy, but I'm gonna do it. But anyway, one thing I'm curious about is it seems like this game is intent on telling the audience, we hear you. Dragon Age Inquisition, I mean, Dragon Age Origins was awesome. You know, we hear you. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff that is reminiscent of the level of detail of the tabletop experience that was Origins. And so I'm kind of wondering if that is going to translate to how you can equip the various character classes. Like, can my warrior carry a bow? I'm really curious about that. Since magic is going to be a different situation, my main character in D&D is a dwarven paladin of Clangeddon, who I think Clangeddon isn't even a deity anymore in later games, or Clangeddon might be Pathfinder's D&D. I'm not sure, but he's a paladin, so he technically has cleric abilities, magical abilities. So when I make Canderous in Dragon Age, he is a Templar. That's it. That's the equivalent. And a Templar doesn't have magical abilities. A Templar, has anti magic, which isn't what a paladin does. I mean, kind of like if you consider magic to be evil, I guess. So I'm kind of wondering if they're going to give me enough options this time around to make a more traditional D&D paladin and have him be a dwarf, because they're saying that there's some sort of earthen based magical powers that I'm gonna be able to potentially, if not have access to in terms of building my own character, I'll at least see them with Scout Harding. Um, I don't know. Like it would be a weird thing to decide to do to not only take away the ability to play as other characters, which I never took advantage of and never really did. Like I only switched characters to revive myself or to like bring myself from a location where I'm stuck. But I I don't know, something about playing as something about being a mage early game on a hard difficulty and just being frustrated and not being tough yet. And then so switching to like Cassandra because I would rather play as a warrior early game sucked. And I love Cassandra, and I don't mind playing as a female character. I just don't want to be Cassandra, and I don't. And I think it's because I'm a huge stickler for character creation that I I can't do it. So I'm not bugged at all about not being able to switch in combat, but I am hoping. Oh shit! Pause it. Pause it. Okay, I am hoping. I am hoping, and you should check out all these videos for IGN. I'm hoping YouTube doesn't flag me. I don't know how this works. I'm not a real YouTuber. I'm faking the funk. But anyway, I'm hoping that basically. I'm just gonna rewind it a little bit just so I don't have this like stale screen behind me. Okay, I'm just hoping that even though you can't switch characters to get a chance to basically use Varric's crossbow, that you can now essentially build out those cool things you see, for yourself. And I think I overheard someone already being frustrated that one of your companions has a really cool looking bow that you're not going to be able to use. And I'm like, that's going to kind of suck because at least if you thought Bianca was the dopest weapon ever, you could just play as Varric. So I really hope that that's not a pain point for characters, that everything we see our companions do is sort of like a diagram for how we can build our own character, is what I always sort of looked at it as. And so there's a dude who's like a mage hunter who's got this like wing thing, and I'm like, holla at your boy. I want to do the wing thing now, and so I'm thinking to myself, I might be only mildly disappointed in the onset because something tells me that that like they're not messing around when it comes to the Veilguard. That from everything to the game looking as good as this, based on with the design specs being what they are, that they are not here to drop the ball on the 1 yard line and make bloopers of the week. They're gonna fucking take this shit to the house. I really believe that they're gonna nail it all down. And so if the game launches, I think it's gonna go smooth. But players are like, I kind of want to be Yo-Yo. What's his name? I kind of want to. I think you're gonna get like a patch or something. I don't know. I mean, but I think they're serious. They've always been serious, but I think the stakes are stupidly too high. But I just feel like they're about to show it. They about to do it. Like BioWare is gonna make a game of the year, and we're not gonna have dudes making videos 10 years later going by game of the year. Yeah, yeah, motherfucker, game of the year. And yeah, and this channel is like no commercials, age gate. I say motherfucker. But with that, I'm gonna call it. This was my watch along. I am admittedly not good at this. I'm gonna make a video that's a little bit more organized. I thought it would be easy to commentate, but it's not. So I didn't. I just talked about Dragon Age because I love it so much. Um, Check out the live stream. I'm probably going to live stream again soon. It's already September, and I gotta go ahead and get to the Winter Palace, and so I think I'm just gonna get there next live stream. So have a good one, and see you soon. I'm gonna leave this playing, and we're gonna do this whole editing thing, and I'm probably gonna add a thing on the end to like and subscribe. Oh yeah, like and subscribe for more ramblings of a middle-aged man on his ham radio in 2024.